Well, you were talking about imposter syndrome, and what was the name you suggested for my podcast?
What is it? Embrace
Embrace
the
the imposter.
imposter.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it. You're a good
Yeah.
writer. So
Words are my thing.
if we already touched this, maybe you can tell me and anyone who's watching it a little bit about yourself, and maybe even in the context of imposter syndrome, and if you ever experienced
Never.
that, or when recently. Go off.
Yeah, like about just like my background and who I
Yeah,
am.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I grew up, my parents didn't quite know what to do with me until they took me to see a play, and I said, "Oh, this is the thing. This is what I want to do." And I was like 6 years old.
What play was it?
It was Rumpelstiltskin, and it was this, you like spin straw into gold. It's that like fairy tale.
Oh, okay, yes.
It's a good one. But I got called up on stage to like hold the straw that he was spinning into gold. Like they always had this little children's theater in Sacramento always had like audience participation. So I got called up on stage and I was like, oh, this is my life. This is what I'm going to do now. And so they were just like putting me in these community theater classes, and I was in these little like youth theater plays, and wanted to be an actor. And then, I got older, like I discovered musical theater, and I was in high school, like in all the high school musicals, and thought that was what I wanted to do. And then I went to college and took a playwriting class sort of on a whim, and that changed everything, changed the whole direction of what I wanted to do. And then from there,
So you really started like as an actor, as like an actor.
Yeah.
Kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's and I think I liked acting, but once I learned what it meant to be a professional actor, like what that really meant, I was not interested. I was like, I don't want to have to audition so much. I don't want to have to like I think I realized that like it was something that sapped my energy instead of something that like gave me energy. So I like got into college and I saw the people who were really like in that BFA acting and musical theater programs, and how they just were always like itching to get on stage, and they just wanted to perform, and they just wanted to be in the spotlight. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's me. I
And
think
how old were you when that
I
happened?
was like 18.
Okay,
like
that's early enough to
freshman year of college. Yeah, I thought like, oh, this isn't the thing that drives me. I want to be involved in theater, but like, I don't have the same drive to perform and to be on stage that these people do. So where do I fit? Like, what do I want to do?
So how it got into writing or whatever there was in between.
Yeah, I took this playwriting class, and like the second day of the class, we had to bring in a short play. So I like wrote all night to bring something in. And the professor, his name's Eric Samuelson, and he passed away recently, but he pulled me into his office and he said, you can do this. I think you're talented. And if this is something you want to do, I think you can do this. And that like changed my life. Again, it's, someone, I mean, maybe we shouldn't need other people to give us permission, but the people that sort of give you that encouragement and that push, they change your life, because we're all kind of hungry for validation from someone else. So to hear that from him really pushed me in that direction. And so then I was all in on writing.
Ever since. So since you were like 18, 19.
Yeah, like it was my sophomore year. And ever since my sophomore year of college, this is what I wanted to do. And we didn't have like a formal playwriting major. It was like an emphasis that I did, which was nice because I was the only writer. I wasn't the only writer. Oh, geez. But I was like, I guess just the most sort of proactive or whatever. What it meant was I got produced a lot. I got like, as an undergrad, I had plays go up on the main stage at my college. I had like these opportunities at local theater companies. So I got to really learn by doing. There were really only like a couple of classes where I sat down and kind of learned about writing, but most of it was just, I would write something, it would go up, I would sit and see how the audience responded to it, and then I would learn things and do better the next time. And
That sounds like a really lucky
yeah,
situation.
it
Like
was really
you
lucky.
you were conditioned to know, I guess, that your work works, and you're writing something, and
Or
here it
sometimes
is.
didn't. Like
Okay.
I also got to see when something really didn't work because people were walking out of the audience, or people were just falling asleep or checking their phones
Oh
or whatever.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
it really was like this laboratory of observing the audience.
Do you remember any particular feeling of like a real bummer, or like if your heart was really broken over people getting out or not laughing where you thought they would laugh? Do you remember any like major moment?
I remember there was this play I wrote. I went to a super conservative college, and writing became like my way of surviving that world because I couldn't really like experiment myself, but my characters could. Like I was sort of hedged in by a lot of rules and a lot of expectations, like at this college, but I could explore like in fiction, like the broader world. And so there's this play I wrote that had looking back, it was just such a classic, like homoerotic, like hidden homoerotic crazy scene, written by a very closeted young playwright who didn't know what to do with himself. And people definitely walked out of that. But I was kind of proud of that.
Wait, it was a homoerotic play you wrote, and it was staged.
There was a scene in this play where like this man met this man found out that his wife had been cheating on him, and he met the other man, like, and it was some like locker room scene where like they were shirtless, and there was all this like who's a bigger man, like it was so obviously like a cry for help from this closeted kid,
Wow.
um that was like struggling with his own sense of masculinity and whatever. But I think like the audience, but I didn't even realize that's what I was
wanted to
writing.
ask you if you were aware.
No.
Okay.
And I just was like, no, it's just the characters. This, of course, has nothing to do with me. And audience members were walking out. Some of them were just offended that there were like shirtless men in towels on stage. But some of them, I think, really saw like how very gay this play was. I almost got kicked out of school
Because of that play?
not for that play, for a different play. So my junior year, I wanted to direct, for like my junior directing project, I wanted to direct a cutting of the Laramie Project, which is this play about a homophobic hate crime in Wyoming, because Proposition 8 was happening, and like the whole debate about marriage equality was happening in California, and my college was very anti-marriage equality. The church that owned the college was very anti-marriage equality. And so I wanted to do this play because I wanted to address this. And it went all the way up to like the dean of the college. And he said, no, you can't direct this because it's obviously pro-gay. But if you want to write your own play about, if you're a playwright, so write your own play about gay marriage and all of this. So I wrote this play. I did what he said. I was like, all right, great, I'll write it. And that was going to be like my big senior capstone project. And as soon as the audition notice got posted, they called me in, and it was this whole thing where he was going page by page through the script, like telling me all the changes I had to make and all the words I had to take out. And I was going along with it. And then there was just like, we hit some impasse, and I was like, no, I'm not making these changes, or I'm not. And they were doing that like religious gaslighting thing where they're like, why don't you go home and pray about it and see if you still think it's a good idea to do this play. And so I was like, cool, went home, prayed about it, feel great. Let's do it. He was like, I don't think you prayed right. Like, it was just this crazy thing. And I was like, well, I'm not backing down. I'm going to do this play, or you can kick me out. Like, I think that's kind of where one of these meetings went to. And so then like professors were talking to me and saying like, they're going to withhold your diploma. Like they're not going to let you graduate. And so I had this other meeting and I was like, okay, sure. Yeah. Withhold my diploma. Don't let me graduate. And I will talk to Playbill and get a human interest story written about like the guy who wrote a gay play who like got kicked out of school.
Yo, what a rebel!
And then they backed down and asked me to speak at graduation. So it was a big 180.
Wait.
on
What
their
was
part.
what did it turn out to be?
They ended up like asking me to speak at graduation instead of not letting me graduate. But yeah, so it was wild. But anyway, yeah, I think like I was just in this really, really, it's really sheltered world. This, like, I felt like I felt kind of constrained by how I was able to live. And some of that was because of the church, and some of it was just because of me. And like, I was afraid to kind of be my true self, but I got to be my true self when I was writing. And so writing was like the outlet where I got to explore. And so I was like, I think that's one of the reasons why early on, like I was just like addicted to writing. I just, it worked so well for me because I needed it. And then I graduated and learned what it takes to be an actual like professional writer.
What was the leap?
I had this moment. So I did an internship. I grew up in Sacramento, California. And there's this theater there called Music Circus where they do, it used to be just like a circus tent. And every summer, now it's a building that's like in the round, but it kind of looks like a tent. They do like all these musicals like 1 week at a time. So like the summer that I worked there, they did 7 shows in 7 weeks. And it's like this huge this huge like employer of actors for the summer. It's basically like fancy summer stock theater. So anyway, I went and did an internship there, which was really exciting because that's kind of where I fell in love with musical theater. So straight after graduation, interned for the summer at Music Circus, and they were introducing me around the office. And they're like, "This is Matthew. He's interning for the summer. He's here. He does this. And they would say he's a playwright." And I was waiting for like anyone to say like to think that was cool, and to be like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to read something," because that's how it was when I was in school. Was everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're a writer. That's so cool. I'd love to read something," because there weren't very many of us.
Yeah.
And all my friends were actors who just wanted, things written for them. And so I was so used to like that being interesting. And then I graduated and I was like, "Oh, these people don't care that I'm a writer. Like they know real writers." Like, and I just realized like, oh, I have to make people care. I have to like, I'm not special just because I do a thing. I have to like, I have to prove myself like out here in this cold, cruel world.